We are now 1 month into the 2024-2025 season, which I think gives us enough of a sample size to start evaluating these teams and the players on these teams a little bit more directly. Normally, a couple of games in, there's too much random variables to get a thumb down on what exactly is happening here. But now I want to talk about the standout player for all 30 NBA teams, not necessarily dudes who are like in most improved player conversations by any means, but just guys who, when I watch them, I'm like, that guy looks pretty good. Those stats look pretty good. This player looks like he's a lot better than I originally expected him to be. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Also Rusty Butkus. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and drop a like on the video, and check us out over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to enjoy this as an audio-only experience. That said, I did work pretty damn hard on the graphics for this video. It took more time than I would have liked it to, so I'd probably prefer you stick over to the video version today. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into this thing. First off, obviously you can already tell I'm dealing with a wonky camera setup because the cam link I have broke, so I'm recording with my phone right now. However, first things first, we of course have Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels has been one of the best defenders in the NBA. He might end this season with a all defensive bid. He's averaging 3.1 steals per game, which is the most of anyone in the league, which is why that is highlighted. His offense has been a little bit shaky beyond the arc, and that's affected his efficiency some, but he's been pretty decent inside the arc, made good decisions as a playmaker, and he is very much what the Hawks originally had hoped that DeJounte Murray could be, at least in terms of being that defensive off guard. Now, DeJounte obviously had a lot more offensive capability, but that actually seemed to come to a detriment of the team, both because he didn't really play all that well alongside Trae Young offensively, nor did Trae Young play all that well besides him. But on top of that, the offense seemed to come at a consequence of the defense. We were hoping that that was just kind of a thing that happened with the Spurs over time because they weren't all that competitive. But no, it really seems like he's just not the defender that he used to be. Dyson Daniels is that defender while also not having too strong of a role, not doing too much on the offensive end, and that's huge. He was a guy who had some upside with the Pelicans last year that gave people reason to think, give this guy opportunity and he will be really good. Here's the opportunity, and he's really fucking good. Hopefully the three ball figures itself out because that is going to be a limiting factor. He is such a strong perimeter defender as of right now, especially for the Hawks, that there's not a shot in hell he's like anywhere near being worried about not getting minutes because of his three-point percentage, but it could be a problem over time. It could end up being a huge weakness, so hopefully that is not something that's going to stick around. Next, moving on to Peyton Pritchard of the Boston Celtics, who as of right now is probably my sixth man of the year front runner. I don't want to say that outright, but I'm pretty sure that would be the case. He's averaging 15 points per game, just under 3 assists, 1.1 steals in 28 minutes of action. He's shooting an insane 65% from two, and mind you, this guy actually takes a decent volume of floaters and mid-range shots, so it's not like I'm just talking about layups here, as well as 42% from three, while he has doubled his volume from last year. Peyton Pritchard is somebody who I always thought could probably do a little bit more. There's a lot of limitations to being like a 6-foot-ish guard who isn't like a super strong defender, which most 6-foot-ish guards are not. But it was very clear the dude could shoot. It was very clear the guy made good decisions, rarely fucked up, which is a pretty important staple. So yeah, he's just shooting the hell out of the ball, and I don't really see much reason to believe that it won't maintain itself because he shot these percentages roughly before. This has just been an increased opportunity, and he has ran with that opportunity. Yet another insanely deadly, high-volume three-point shooter on the Boston Celtics, because Lord knows they didn't have enough of that. Next, we have Dennis Schroeder from the Brooklyn Nets, who is another guy who's got a lot of opportunity, more so than he had previously. However, this has not come at a cost of his efficiency. In fact, he is shooting a career high from three, both in percentage and volume. He's been pretty decent inside the arc in terms of efficiency, especially as someone who takes a lot of mid-range shots and floaters. 18 points, 6.5 assists. This is probably just a player who is pretty good in a slightly reduced role, getting a heightened role, but at the same time, I also feel like this is more or less just the role he had with the OKC Thunder, just on a worse team that needs it more. I don't think he does too much when he's on the floor by any means. There's just not a lot else. There's not many other options on the floor. So good on Dennis. I do worry a little bit, if Brooklyn ends up trading him or someone buys into this idea that he's taken some huge leap. You know, has he actually, or is he only doing that specifically in the context of this role? I'm not sure, but as of right now, he is doing it and he is doing it well. Tre Mann of the Charlotte Hornets is one of my favorite players in the league at this point, and it's mostly because he is sporting the 2000s like Allen Iverson baggy shorts and shirt type fit that just makes him like, it's almost nostalgic to watch him play basketball. He's averaging 14 points per game. His efficiency inside the arc could be a little bit better, but his threes are good. He's also doing this in 24 minutes of action. He's another guy who could potentially be on that 6 man of the year radar. I just really love watching him play. Crazy good handle, and I truly do not think there's anyone who gets more separation on their step back in the entire NBA. I liked what I saw from him in OKC, but also felt like he was never really going to get a chance to develop his game there, given how many other young upside players they had there. But it kind of goes to show just how fucking great they are at drafting, that this was the guy who had to go to the wayside, because he is an absolute bucket. Nikola Vucevic of the Chicago Bulls looks as though he has essentially revitalized his game. He's averaging 20 and 10, 3 assists, just under a block, 63% from 2, which means he's hitting a lot more of his mid-range shots, and 46% from outside. This is a guy who shot sub 30% last year. Now, I will say for Vucevic, he has one of the highest volumes of open jumpers that any player in the league ever has the privilege of having. Now, over time, I think teams are starting to defend him more like he's the older Vucevic more and more. However, he's still getting a lot of clean looks, and I do wonder how well that is going to hold up as the season goes along. But as of right now, shooting scorchingly hot, and I hope it at least maintains to a point where like he can shoot at least like 37-ish% from 3, still be a 20 and 10 guy, and at that point he ends up being a very solid trade asset rather than someone who might have been really damn hard to move otherwise. So I pray he keeps up the hot shooting, because it is hopefully going to bring more draft capital to the Chicago Bulls. Or maybe they'll view this as an opportunity to be competitive for no fucking reason. Lord knows they love to do that. Ty Jerome of the Cleveland Cavaliers is maybe my favorite player on this entire list. He is so fun. He has the highest true shooting percentage in the league, despite the fact that he is a guard. This is another case where it's like that efficiency isn't going to hold because it's just so high. It would be fucking ridiculous if it did. But he has been super, like, devastatingly effective in the limited minutes. He's having 18 minutes per game right now. Double that, get him the starters minutes. He's a 24 point per game scorer, all right? And he had a game the other night. Yeah, he had a game the other night where he played 23 minutes because he got to start and he got a bigger role because somebody was out. He had 29 points on 10 for 19 shooting, hit 7 of his 12 three-pointers. He also started against the Charlotte Hornets, and in that game, he had 24 points, 8 assists, 4 for 7 from 3, and 9 for 15 from the field. This guy is awesome. I also want to point out, I didn't know really anything about Ty Jerome until this season. Just wasn't really on my radar like that. And I said a couple of times, a little too confidently, that Ty was like 6'1", 6'2". No, he's actually 6'5". Turns out the problem was watching games on my phone. I watch a lot of games on my phone, and it kind of warps your perception of the size of these guys. And then I watched the Cavs versus Celtics game on my TV, and I was like, oh, no, he's so much taller than for some reason I perceived him to be. So yeah, he's a solid 6'5", jump shot, doesn't miss, really good from floater range. Could be mistaken. This is me going off of the dome without actually researching it, but I think he might have been coached by Kenny Atkinson in college, and that was a big reason for him even being there in the first place. But one way or the other, dude is awesome. He is a strong most improved player candidate. I don't think he's going to end up winning the award just because there's not enough opportunity there. Honestly, though, I don't see much reason not to play him more minutes, other than the fact that, of course, you do have 2 star guards. But as far as I'm concerned, for every minute that Mitchell and Garland are not both on the floor, Ty Jerome needs to be on the floor, and he usually is. So there's not actually that much opportunity for it. But man, I just wish that we could get this guy at 25 minutes a game, because he would probably win 6 man of the year. He would probably win most improved player in the same fucking season. This was one where I had to pick somebody. The Dallas Mavericks really do not have any standout players. However, Quentin Grimes has shot 40% from 3. That's cool. Congrats to Quentin Grimes. Glad he's doing that. I'm just going to move on, though. There really was not a good choice here. Christian Braun of the Denver Nuggets is someone who I had a lot of doubts for, but as of right now, he is more than exceeding any kind of expectations you could have put on the guy. Still a great defender, still a pretty good rebounder, but also, oh my God, is this guy excellent at attacking closeouts. Like, I feel like he gets almost all of his offense from attacking closeouts or like pushing it in transition. He does not get a lot of assisted baskets, but he still gets a shitload of points. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets are the perfect team for that, playing alongside Jokic. Also very functional as a cutter. And then he's shooting 42% from 3 on not a crazy high volume, but a high enough volume that it persisting over all these games it is an encouraging sign. Not going to outright say the Christian Braun spacing issue is just gone now, but it is something that makes me less worried about it. Peyton Watson is also shooting that well from 3, but he has not had the crazy boost in stats overall. Obviously, he's getting KCP's spot, and a lot of people freaking out about the loss of KCP in this offseason. If he continues to shoot threes like this while also being so much more devastating as an inside-the-arc scorer and probably just as strong or at least similarly as strong as a defender, then that's going to look like an upgrade more than anything else where they dodged a bullet by not paying KCP $20 million, especially because KCP's playing like dog shit on the Orlando Magic right now, but that's neither here nor there. Malik Beasley of the Detroit Pistons, 15 points per game, 39% from 3. We have seen this kind of thing from him before. He kind of just is good one year and then bad the other and then good again. It's a weird back and forth with Malik Beasley, but they need him to be a shooter. They need him to be a scorer, and he's been doing exactly that. So shout out to him. The other day, I was actually at the Pistons-Rockets game, and I was texting Nick, who's editing this video, about Malik just couldn't hit a fucking shot. And then as soon as I sent that text, 3 threes in like 4 possessions. Like, it's like he heard my text. I don't know. Buddy Hield. This one's an obvious one. Another strong 6-man of the year candidate. 16.5 points, 45% from 3, 64% true shooting. He has just been insane from 3, insane in general. Also really good at getting like easy 2-point baskets, just on the break or attacking a closeout really well. Not the best percentage inside the arc, but likes to take a lot of mid-range jump shots that he's maybe not that great at. But he's a good source of offense. It's not just 3-point shooting, but of course the 3-point shooting is the prevailing thing there. And he just does all of the positive Clay stuff without any of the baggage, makes very little money, hits his 3-pointers, doesn't take a ton of bad 2-pointers like Clay does, isn't a source of drama. So yeah, Buddy Hield, awesome addition for the Warriors. I liked him going there. Didn't think he'd be this fucking good. I'll tell you that much. He's becoming the splash stepbrother, if you will. Tari Eason of the Houston Rockets. I was also tempted to highlight Amen Thompson here, but Amen Thompson's numbers haven't actually really increased all that much, even though I have felt like he's gotten more attention and I myself have given him more attention. But Tari Eason has boosted his numbers. He is averaging 2-point steals in 23 minutes of action, as well as 1.1 blocks, 3.3 stocks in 23 minutes. Is pretty fucking nuts out of a wing who's not even like that tall and long. Hitting his 3-pointers pretty well. He's had a couple of stretches where he's had like 18, 16-ish points after a couple of games in a row. So I honestly think him and Amen need to get a starting spot because Jabari Smith Jr. and Fred VanVleet have not been good. Jalen Green has not been good in terms of shooting the ball. And Tari Eason and Amen Thompson, they're right below Şengün. And then after that, they're the 2 highest in plus-minus on the team, and I think it's by a decent margin at that. Their defense is ridiculous. Jokic Star on Twitter described the way they play as a rock fight. That's pretty much encapsulates the energy. It's like they are going to physically bully you and make you feel them defensively every single possession. This is not Tari Eason. This is Benedict Mathurin, but I'm not going to go and fix this graphic and post real quick. Whatever. This is Benedict Mathurin. I also don't know if the minutes are accurate, but I did change the stats otherwise. 18.8 points per game for Benedict Mathurin. He's someone who I will admit first and foremost, I have never been a big fan of because he's just not an archetype of player that I like. But I also specifically do not like him for the Pacers because there's kind of this clash in, their philosophies for how to score the ball. Benedict Mathurin is more of a one-on-one isolation, slow down the pace, score. And then, of course, the Pacers like a high pace. They like to swing the ball around, try to get the best shot available. They're not really about, hey, we're going to give you the ball, go score. However, Indiana's offense has been pretty lackluster. A lot of this because Tyrese Halliburton has been fucking dreadful. That's a conversation we'll probably get to in another day. But yeah, he's scoring the hell out of the ball, hitting his three-pointers, so good on him for that. I don't know how well that's going to maintain. This is a good amount of hot shooting. But yeah, Bennedict Mathurin, very, very good. Norman Powell. He is definitely the most improved player right now. 23 points per game, 48, almost 49% from three. Seems to be running on pure spite for Paul George for thinking that he was better than him pretty much the whole time. And I don't know if that was true for much of the time that both of them were on the Clippers together, but it's definitely very clearly the case right now. I don't know if that'll maintain itself throughout the entire league. A lot of people are really panicking about Paul George because of his really, really slow start. Norman Powell, he is a shooting guard's shooting guard. He is the quintessential idea of what a shooting guard is. I did a opening monologue on the Shoot Around podcast because on the longer form version of that's not the abridged version you get over on this channel. We like to open with these little monologues about random ass things. And my monologue was about how the Clippers just play 2000s basketball, and it's kind of awesome. Norman Powell very much encapsulates that because he is just a shooting guard. 2.3 assists per game, 23.3 points. That's the type of shit I'm talking about. I don't want to see him get over 3 assists per game. Stay away from it. Shoot it when you touch it, and that's it. Is it the most optimal play style? I do not think so. I do not think, especially in the modern NBA. However, it is very fun and very enjoyable. Austin Reeves, this was another case of don't really have a strong pick here. I have liked how he's looked on the floor. I think this is an eye test situation where I feel like I have enjoyed his play in the eye test sense far more than than the stats actually show you that he's improved dramatically. I strongly believe whether they, were to trade D'Lo for a wing and start LeBron at point guard, or just outright start Austin Reeves at point guard, one way or the other, I really want to see that team move on from D'Angelo Russell and just let your creation come from Reeves and LeBron, and then just have a shooter out there. Maybe it's Dalton Connect, because Dalton Connect has been shooting like crazy recently. I don't want to make this Austin Reeves section about D'Lo, but god damn it, I want D'Lo not on the Lakers anymore. The Memphis Grizzlies actually have a lot of strong picks because there is a lot of rotational pieces for them, getting a lot of opportunity because a lot of people are injured. And last year, that just meant a bunch of empty stats. However, this year, we're actually getting a decent volume of wins from the Grizzlies, even without Ja Morant. And Scottie Pippen Jr. has stepped up in a couple of these games as a starter and been really, really good. I don't think he's going to be sixth man of the year, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was sixth in voting on that front. Really good playmaker, efficient playmaker, hitting his three-pointers, pretty good on the defensive end. Only last note about him, why is his name spelt different from his dad's if it's a junior? It's a different spelling of Scotty. At that point, are you a junior anymore? You can misspell the first name or spell it differently, but it's still a junior? I don't understand the rules on that. But moving on. Tyler Hero. Holy shit, he's been good. He is another dude who isn't not in a most improved player conversation because 24 points per game on 65% true shooting. The actual thing that stands out to me a lot is the 2-point percentage because Tyler has never shot above 46, 47. He's never shot at least in the 50s on 2-point percentage, and he is doing exactly that right now. He has truly been the only bright spot for the Miami Heat, who otherwise are just floundering around as we kind of expected them to. AJ Green of the Milwaukee Bucks. I chose a photo of him shooting the ball because that's literally all he does. Yes, he has a 60% 2-point percentage. However, that is, and I kid you not, on 0.8 field goal attempts per game from 2. Otherwise, he's getting up 4, 5, 6 3-pointers per game, and he's shooting nearly 50% on them. Should get more minutes, should get more opportunity, because it would be one thing if, I don't really think he's a super strong defender. Maybe I'm just assuming that because he's a white guy who only shoots threes, and those guys don't necessarily have the strongest track record as defensive players. But there's a bunch of dudes in the Bucks rotation right now who are also not that strong on the defensive end, who can't shoot the hell out of the ball. So I think he should be getting into the 20+ minute per game range. Really, really good three-point shooter. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, another case of didn't have some strong pick. He's shooting really well from three. That's really the only thing that's dramatically different from last year, but credit to him. It's an improvement, no less. Jordan Hawkins, this is a smaller sample size and mostly a product of the fact that the Pelicans are like the most injured NBA team I've ever witnessed in my entire life, and I am very much saying that with last year's Memphis Grizzlies in the context, because goddamn, everybody gets hurt for the Pelicans. But Hawkins was averaging 16 points before he himself got hurt, mostly just chucking a lot of threes. This is probably a case of just more opportunity than actually much of an improvement, but there wasn't many choices to make for the Pelicans, so Jordan Hawkins gets it. Miles McBride of the New York Knicks stepping up and taking on the Dante DiVincenzo bench role that he was going to have this year. 38% from three, scoring the ball well enough inside the arc. That's pretty much all you need out of the guy, on top of the fact that he is a really solid defender, because even though he's not the tallest guy in the world, he's just got a very solid body and he's not easy to push around. Aaron Wiggins of the OKC Thunder, for some reason, was tragically difficult to find a good photo of that was like high res and from like in the last year, where he didn't have like the 6 on the jersey. So apologies to Aaron for a rather rough photo, but he has continued his super hot three-point shooting from last year, where he shot like 46% on the season. His 2-point percentage has actually dipped a little bit because he's been a little bit more ambitious with his mid-range creating inside the arc, but I truly think he is one of the best bench pieces in the entire NBA. He is rather efficient from pretty much everywhere on the floor, and he's a solid defensive piece, so I hope that he can get more opportunity. I have said that I want to see him start for OKC. However, with Lou Dort just not missing three-pointers, that probably won't happen. Lou Dort also would have been a strong candidate here as a standout player. Franz. Oh my God, Franz has been good. These are his stats for the season, for his total of 17 games. I want to actually highlight specifically his stats without... Oh, his middle name is Jacob. That's cool. My name is Jacob. The last 9 games that he has played, which have been since Paulo has gotten hurt, he is on average plus 6.6. He averages 28 points, 7 assists, 2 steals. He's shooting 34% from three on 7 attempts per game, which for how high volume that is and for how poorly he shot last year, I'm going to be all right with 34%, especially with everything else in context. And he has also been statistically one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. So yeah, Franz is not only on a hot streak, he is making me and a lot of other people question, how good can this guy get? Are we talking about an all NBA level season right now if this maintains? Can it maintain if Paolo Banchero comes back? I guess we'll have to wait and see. As of right now, we just gotta marvel at it, because holy shit, he has been good. This is the only rookie on the list, Jared McCain of the Philadelphia 76ers, because this was not breakout players. I specifically am using the word standout because Jared McCain is the only standout player on the 76ers, and also there are a lot of players on this list who aren't necessarily breaking out so much as I'm just taking notice of them. But McCain, 15 points per game. He also has been averaging the most points per game as a starter since Michael Jordan, in a rookie season, I should say. Most points as a starter as a rookie since Michael fucking Jordan. All right, that's why he's averaging 15 points per game with an average of 22. Starting his last 4 games, he's at 25.8 points per game, 5.8 assists. And if I start this trend not from when he started starting, but when he got 30+ minutes, 25 points over the last 2 games before that. So yeah, holy shit. He's also shooting exceptionally well from outside. Good decision making inside the arc. I can't stop giving this guy praise. He is my favorite rookie, probably rookie of the year frontrunner right now. It's not impossible that he ends up being the best player from his draft class. But yeah, Jared McCain, holy shit. Josh Okogie of the Phoenix Suns has been stepping up, given more opportunity recently because of a couple of injuries, and he has been as good of a role player as he has ever been. I have kind of always been a Josh Okogie hater because I just didn't think that his defense was really worth the offensive limitations that came with him, because it's not like he's some super tall, versatile defender. Like, wings who only play defense are already a rarity in the NBA as it is, but like a 6'4" wing who only plays defense is especially a rarity to actually get value out of that guy. But as of right now, he's shooting 50% from three. He's scoring at a really high volume for the minutes that he's getting. So shout out Josh Okogie. He has been excellent since he's stepped into Phoenix's rotation. This one's kind of weird because Shaedon Sharp's three-point percentage is kind of sad, but his two-point percentage is dramatically higher than it was last year, and he had a stretch where he averaged 27 points. Last game, I think he either got hurt or just got pulled early. I'm not sure why he played less minutes, but when he was given the proper minutes, and also not just his first couple of games where he was coming back from an injury. I think I got fed, Basketball Reference showed me the wrong thing. Let me pull this up. Last 4 games, 26 points per game, 3 assists, 42% from 3 on 8 attempts per game. It's a very small sample size, but credit to him. Holy shit, he has been scoring the ball since he has gotten the minutes. Yeah, good on him for that. Keon Ellis of the Sacramento Kings. Again, a case of not a lot of strong picks. Had like an 8 or 9 three-pointer game the other day. I don't know why he isn't starting. He should very clearly be Sacramento's starter, but I'm not going to get up on that soapbox right now. He's just one of the better 3-and-D guards in the entire NBA. Next, this might piss a couple people off because I am a well-documented Jeremy Sohan hater, but I chose Julian Champagnie just purely because he has played twice as many games, actually even more than twice as many games as Sohan did. Credit to him, Jeremy Sohan has averaged 15 points per game in the like 8 games that he did play. I think he's the one avenue towards being a non-floor spacing forward and working in the NBA is having like your Aaron Gordon type archetype, where it's like, yeah, you're just exceptionally good inside the arc. You are a strong force going to the rim, and he has been more so that this year than he's ever displayed previous. I still don't like the fact that in the games that they played, he literally shot as many times as Victor Wembanyama did. I'm not going to blame that on him specifically, more so just the Spurs in general, but regardless, Champagnie has played twice as many games, and he has been really, really solid. He is pretty much just strictly a catch-and-shoot three-point guy. He's getting up over 6 three-pointers per game, plays good defense, and his jump shot is very J.R. Smith-esque in how it looks. And as somebody whose 4th or 5th favorite player of all time is J.R. Smith, love to see it. Ochai Agbaji is averaging 12 points per game, 44% from 3, 57% from 2. Good-ass defender, good decision-making, good three-point shooting. I'm repeating a lot of similar monikers because most of these guys are role players, and those are the boxes that you want to check if we're talking about role players here. But he has become one of the best 3-and-D guys in the entire league. He kind of reminds me of like a lower scoring volume DeAndre Hunter, who ideally can actually be healthy and consistent. But I kind of wrote Ochai off after last year with Toronto, last year with Utah as well, because in totality last year he shot sub 30% after a solid but not remarkably impressive rookie year. He even shot 22% for the Toronto Raptors from 3 in 27 games, which is just outright terrible. But since then, he's been really good, so shout out to Ochai. I gotta stop just using the word shout out, because I usually say that anytime a player's improving, but this video is entirely about players improving, so I've just repeated the same moniker over and over. John Collins is averaging the most points per game he has since he was an Atlanta Hawk a couple of years ago. 8 rebounds, hitting his three-pointers somewhat, but you know, he's doing John Collins shit. I don't really have a lot of analysis beyond that. Utah didn't really have a lot of great picks. He's averaging like 3 more points per game, so credit to him for that. And then finally, Bilal Coulibaly of the Washington Wizards. His numbers were actually better, and then Kyle Kuzma came back and just completely shit all over that parade, so that wasn't very fun. But he's averaging 15 points per game, 6 rebounds, good defender, hitting his three-pointers, and he is 20 years old. 20 years old doing this. He was at like 18 points per game before Kyle Kuzma came back, so get Kyle Kuzma the fuck off of the roster and let Bilal Coulibaly cook. With that said, shout out to Nick for editing this video, and if you think I picked any of these players wrong, maybe you think someone else is standing out a little bit more, just let me know who your standout player for your team is. But yeah, that's it. Peace.